Hi everybody. So I am on this video today to talk about setting up a business checking account and how one particular bank called Wells Fargo did me dirty. And I do mean they did me wrong. And to this day, it don't make sense because I was able to open up a business checking account with another high name bank without any issues. But for some reason, Wells Fargo was giving me a hard time trying to open up a business checking account with them. So I applied online originally before Christmas in 2022 to get a checking account so I could have another checking account and basically to build a banking relationship with Wells Fargo because I know they have a lot of good products for businesses and good credit cards for business. And I really wanted to build a banking relationship with them to help me to build up my business credit and also to help me build up my business. So I thought Wells Fargo would be one of the banks that I could go through and get this set up for. So I applied online because they said Wells Fargo, you can apply online, which I did, and got through the process, and they said it was pending. They needed to get more information, so they would have someone call me, and they did. So I had someone call me and talk to this lady over the phone for about 15 minutes, just basically verifying who I am, updating information, basically giving my documents, information, all that stuff. And she said she couldn't approve me or open up an account right now because there was too many discrepancies. I'm like, okay. So they set up for me to make an appointment to go to an actual bank and provide my documentation, like my articles of organization, EIN, my ID stuff to verify I am who I am and that I am the owner of the business. So I go into the bank and speak to this guy who really doesn't know a lot about setting up a business because he was asking me a whole bunch of questions about my articles, organizations, and stuff. And I talked about this in the previous video just a little bit, that the guy was asking me why I had all these different addresses on my account. On my articles organization. So basically, it had the name and the address of the executor who set up my my LLC because I went through InkFile, and then it had the address of the registered agent who will be basically the registered agent for my business for me because I preferred to have InkFile be the registered agent. And then of course it had my address for the business. Now my business is set up through a virtual office, so I pay them every month to have my business set up directly with them. So the Articles organization was set up right. Excuse me. So the thing was, I go through the process with them. They look it up, and he said, "Well, I got to send your documents to somebody to have a look at to make sure everything's good because there's so many different addresses and discrepancies on your articles of organization." I'm like, "No, there isn't. Everything is pretty self-explanatory." So, regardless, um, he had to get the documents verified and basically check to make sure they were good to go. So he calls me maybe about a week later. The guy I dealt with called me a week later and told me that um, everything, he wanted to get a little more information, and I gave him some information. He said, I'll call you back and I'll let you know if we were good because I had a lease agreement. It wasn't a lease agreement, it was a binding paper agreement with Opus, who I have my virtual office with. And they basically told me that, okay, I have a legitimate business running through this address, and I provided that paperwork. Well, the bank wanted me to provide them an actual lease agreement, like an actual lease. I'm like, I don't have a lease. That should be that paper that I provided you, stating that my address for my business is here and that I operate my business through here. That should be sufficient enough. And they wanted me to actually provide a lease document, which is that I don't have that. So we go back and forth with that for a little bit. He finally talks to somebody at the bank and they say, okay, yeah, this will work. This is good, blah, blah, blah. So he calls me and says, okay, he can open up a business checking account with me and wants me to come in and get the paperwork and everything together. So I'm like, great, we're good to go. Get to the bank and they still didn't have everything together. I'm like, why are you recalling and asking for stuff? Because he wanted to set it up. And I'm like, well, I applied online. Can you look at the information? Because he was trying to put all my information back into the system. I'm like, why are you putting all my information back in the system? I've already put all this information in. Can't you just look my information up? Because I did it online. So he was able to, and he looked it up, and he had to make a call, I guess, to verify some information because there was something on the something in the system that said he needed to call or whatever. So he calls, talked to somebody else, and basically explained the situation about their so-called being discrepancies on my articles of organization, addresses, different addresses. And he went through the whole spiel with them again. The person he spoke to on the phone this time said, no, we can't open up a checking account with her with that agreement. We need an actual lease agreement showing that she actually has an office there at this building. I'm like, this is not an actual office with a lease. This is an actual building that has offices in that I am renting space to have my business set up in there with them as a virtual office. I said, this is not an actual office where I go in and I pay a high amount of rent. I pay a certain amount of money every month to have my address there for my business. Long story short, which is probably too late, I already went through this like 4 times with Wells Fargo. And the guy basically got upset because he was like, well, he was told by somebody else in the office that the information that was provided to him was good. So he calls me and lets me know that he can open up a checking account. And then when I get there, he talks to somebody else who says, no, you can't open up a checking account because we need to actually see a lease and not that agreement that was provided. So I'm like, man, this is some bullshit. I said, I done drove all the way back out here for you to tell me that I'm not going to get an account with you guys because you don't have an actual lease, even though you can see I have a virtual address and there's an agreement stating that I paid money to them and that my business is actually set up with this company at that building. I'm like, this is ridiculous. So needless to say, I didn't open up a business checking account with them, and I am pissed off because it don't make sense. I mean, I opened up several bank accounts with different banks and did not have this problem. So, Wells Fargo is still giving out a bunch of crap when it comes to this because I'm like, this don't make sense. This did everything correctly, and you're still telling me you can't open up an account because I don't have a lease agreement for my business. So won't be dealing with Wells Fargo. I won't even try to get any type of accounts with them. No credit cards, nothing, no matter how good it may be. It's just for the principle of it. So I just wanted to kind of give you an update on what was going on with that. I had spoke about that previously in a different video, but now I'm just telling you who the bank is and the whole process and let you know that if you're trying to get an account, a checking account with Wells Fargo, if you have a virtual office, uh, if you trying to do that, you can forget it because they're going to give you the runaround. Now, I don't know if that's true for all branches or whatever. I'm in North Carolina, so it may be just for this particular area. But if you have tried to go to Wells Fargo to get a business checking account and you were denied, let me know. Let me know if you had any type of issues or if you were able to get an account set up with them, with your business through a virtual office. I know I wasn't able to. So if anybody else out there did, please let me know. I would love to know, your story about it. Thank you. Y'all have a good one. Bye.